to deploy with the brigade to Afghanistan. I remember the compound we built out on the live fire range, I think which one, but we attacked that. I counted, we did 45 live fire iterations on that compound. Endless amount of hours at the CQB range, in the shoot house, the rain, the exhaustion, the PBS-7 we lost. Charlie Company, thank you very much. With them tonight, by the way. Ammunition in the arms room, and various other distractions we dealt with. We trained very hard for Afghanistan, but nonetheless, we were off-ramped from Afghanistan. The leadership there thought that the mission was making progress, and to demonstrate that progress, we were reduced. That decision was made, by the way, when there was 30,000 troops in Afghanistan. Just a few years later, that number was 100,000. Maybe we were needed after all. But we were sent to West Point instead. After all our hard work, that was a gut punch. It turned into an incredible story.
On April 1st.
On April 1st. No joke, literally no joke, on April 1st. But anyway, I call it an incredible stroke of luck. The 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, the Devils in Baggy Pants, as the Germans call us, is a storied regiment. But every unit really is also a reflection of its current leadership, as well as its rich history. And at that time, I felt that we didn't quite fit into that brigade, to be honest with you. And while we would have done fantastically had we gone to Afghanistan, just like 1508 did just a few years later, I think we would have chafed under the directive and risk-adverse and upwardly focused leadership style of that particular chain of command while we were deployed, just as we chafed under it at Fort Bragg. Monica knows what I'm talking about.
Lay it out there!
The Blue Devils serve our nation best when unencumbered. As we were
Strike hold!
Strike hold!
The silver lining was that the decision not to send us to Afghanistan and put us on our own really formalized our outsider status, and in some ways, in my view, contributed to our ability to weather tragedy and feed the success that was to come. We were on our own. We would need to depend on each other. We would need to take care of each other. The other positive was that to the West Point cadets, the Blue Devils represented the very best possible example of a warrior. I am certain that more than one lieutenant showed up at their unit quite disappointed to find their soldiers were not Blue Devils. West Point or not, we knew our time would come, and it did. In the summer of 2005, the leadership in Iraq requested additional troops for an upcoming election. That mission was tasked to the 82nd Airborne Division. So naturally, the division looked to us, the battalion that was doing land navigation and training bayonet courses in northern New York.
And drinking a lot.
We had advance parties going to Iraq before we had our rear bond parties back from New York. There was no time for pre-deployment training, little love from our brigade that had already gone to Afghanistan, and a division solely focused on deploying to New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina response. And we were headed to the most dangerous city in Iraq. We would have to take care of each other. A few weeks later, he said to me, "You guys have the best infantry I have." I was a bit surprised to hear this from the Marine Corps Regimental Combat Team Commander. But he said it, directed at me, at our first meeting. But he said it, and given where we were, he meant it as a curse, not a compliment. In our little corner of the war, his best trained infantry was going to get the toughest assignment. Haqlaniyah had been lost to an insurgent offensive. In August of 2005, a 6-man sniper team was ambushed and killed. bodies desecrated by the insurgents. One day later, in the follow-on operation, 14 more Marines were killed, causing 325 Marines to withdraw back to their base at Haditha. The Blue Devils were tasked with taking back a town that had been the area of operations of the highest casualty-inflicted unit in Iraq. In the 2 months that the insurgents controlled the city, they had not been idle. The town was surrounded by a defensive IED belt. The main road to the town had 11 deep-buried IEDs in 1 kilometer. Vehicle bombs were stored and at the ready. No problem finding drivers. The area was a trafficking route for suicide bombers looking for a way to paradise. We could not expect to achieve surprise either. The Iraqi government had publicly boasted that an offensive was coming. The human intelligence sources that we had, tribesmen who had actually lived in the town, warned us death awaited us in Haqlaniyah. The Marines had a plan called Operation Rivergate to retake Haqlaniyah along with 2 other towns along the Euphrates. They had an operational method that they expected us to follow. In the morning, drive up to the edge of town.
Hoorah!
Get online, start clearing it from one side to the other. When it got dark, go to ground, start again in the morning. We saw this as a bit too predictable, allowing insurgents to fight, escape, and fight another day. We knew this was not taking advantages of the Blue Devils' ability to operate at night or the tremendous quality of junior leaders who were leading well-trained and aggressive paratroopers. The paratrooper squad was our unit of action. It took some convincing, but the RCT commander was unwilling in the end to tell a paratrooper how to fight. He said to me, just do what you want.
Don't worry, I will.
I wasn't asking permission.
Instead of attacking in the day, we would attack at night. Instead of driving into town, we would walk or fly. Instead of attacking as a battalion, we would attack as squads, all of them. Instead of strict control of movement through operational schedules and phase lines, the Blue Devils would be unleashed. Go to their targets and follow the intelligence. The intelligence we had on the insurgents' last known location. Either find them or follow the intel to the next target, and the next, and the next. Find, fix, finish. Exploit, reattack. Our only control measures were the disciplined trigger fingers of our Blue Devil paratroopers. Coming from all directions and moving in an unexpected pattern, we would dominate the city. We would shut down all vehicle movement. We would not be targets for vehicle-borne IEDs. We would find them where they were stored, where they were made. We would destroy them before they destroyed us. Taking advantage of the Blue Devils' greatest strength, its superior junior leaders and aggressive paratroopers, our plan was to go after them, take them off the board. It was mission command, fighting based on intent before it had a name. Few of any conventional units would operate or could operate like this or be allowed even to operate like this at Fort Bragg, let alone in an unknown and enemy-held city at night under threat. But my gut told me the Blue Devils could. On the night of 3 and 4 October 2005, we put that assumption to the test. With Delta Company providing the cordon to prevent the enemy escape and seizing an oil refinery to the south, Alpha and Bravo Company infiltrated into the town by foot. C Company flew into an LZ to the north under fire. Close combat erupted in all directions as the enemy detected us only when we were already inside his defensive belt. IED triggermen focused on trigger lines were caught looking the wrong way when they turned to see glowing green eyes and then little else. Marine Corps attack helicopters and Air Force AC-130s were brought to bear as squads went into action across target locations and moved on following the intel. When morning came, nothing stopped. The attacks continued. As long as there was intel to follow, days passed, hundreds of houses raided. At night, helicopters brought in resupply and took out detainees. Blue Devil medics saved lives, evacuating wounded, putting others back in action. There was only one organized counterattack, and that occurred on the 15th of October, Election Day. Moments after the RPGs flew, Blue Devils counterattacked and saw the enemy drop their weapons and run. In the pursuit, the Blue Devils uncovered their makeshift hospital and captured more insurgents laying wounded from previous fighting. After 2 months of unopposed control of the city, an insurgent leader found himself under siege, cut off, trapped after his comrades had been killed or captured. Instead of hearing his IEDs exploding against passing Marine convoys, all he heard day and night was explosive door breaches, hot barrel M4s, and screaming paratroopers. He saw the paratroopers on the street, on the roofs, in the safe houses. Every attempt to fight back was met with an immediate and aggressive response. Counterattacks occurred instantaneously, as if the Blue Devils were fighting without orders. But they had orders, only given once: move to the sound of the guns and eliminate the threat. It was then we heard them cry for help. It came from an intercepted phone call. Quote, "These are not Marines. These guys are special. These are crack troops. They are merciless. You can't even get close to them. They are everywhere. They have us by the balls. Can't you get us out of here?" Unquote. After 30 days of Haqlaniyah, the Blue Devils had performed brilliantly, eliminated the threat in the city, and brought some justice to the Marines lost there. The Blue Devils had announced themselves in the Anbar province, but the enemy wasn't the only one getting the message. The coalition's Tier 1 Special Operations Task Force, Task Force 145, needed an aggressive and well-trained force to flush out terrorists in western Iraq from their hideouts. Terror leaders had become very good at avoiding the normal means of detection. They needed to be forced to move. They needed to be threatened in places that they thought were safe. The operation at Haqlaniyah showed that we were exactly what they were looking for. For the first time in history, a Tier 1 Special Operations Force took operational control of an infantry battalion and employed them into counterterrorism operations, search and attack in denied areas. The Torch mission was born. For the next 3 months, we were doing what no other force in Iraq was doing: battalion task force size air assault search and attack mission into areas that were wholly controlled by insurgent sanctuaries. The target, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the emir of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. We conduct 5 or 6 day search and attack missions, reset, plan for 3 days, and then reinserted into another area, maintaining the momentum and the pressure. The intelligence that was created allowed the task force to turn their assets on targeted HVTs that would lead to the emir. The commander of all forces in Iraq, General George Casey, individually recognized the Blue Devils as the right way to fight the insurgency. In a video call with the division commanders, he invoked the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. In that movie, a pair of successful outlaws were able to evade the sheriff and his posse throughout the West, were finally being tracked by a group of nameless, faceless, and relentless bounty hunters. They chased the outlaws across the desert, through the mountains, and down riverbeds. None of the pair's usual tricks or deception were successful in escaping their tormentors, as the bounty hunters simply drew closer. Every surefire trick to lose the trackers failed, at which time Butch Cassidy would ask rhetorically, "Who are those guys?" General Casey opined that that's exactly what the insurgents were asking of the Blue Devils, who appeared suddenly all over western Iraq, going where others would not go, doing what others would not do. Who are those guys? We did not find AMZ in Anbar, but we did find intel that helped trace him to Barkuba, where he was found and killed a few months later. I can't help but think that the reason he left his sanctuary in Anbar was because of us, while asking, Who are those guys? The Blue Devils were awarded the Navy Unit Commendation for outstanding heroism in action against the enemy during our time in Anbar. Well deserved. Our success, of course, was not without tremendous cost. Sergeant Brian Large, Specialist Jacob Vanderbosch, PFC Roberto Baez were all killed the first night as ECO moved across the open desert to cut off the escape of the enemy. Sergeant Pfeiffer and PFC Nicholas Greer were killed clearing a palm grove of a weapons cache that the enemy thought was important enough to die for, and did. Many others were severely wounded. Staff Sergeant Jones was severely burned in the attack on Delta 5-3. Our mortar platoon leader, Brian Jansen, was permanently injured by an IED as he moved his mortar platoon by ground to be in position to support the air assault. PFC Marion Nedelchev was shot once in Haqlaniyah, returned to duty, and then shot again in Ramadi. Many, many more were injured. Some permanent injuries, some to the body, some to the soul. Fathers and mothers lost children. Children and wives lost fathers. Families and friends lived daily with the anguish of loss. All of us were changed. Because now, every day, is Memorial Day, as we endeavor to live lives worthy of their sacrifice. 20 years ago, we were a team trained to the knife's edge, driven by duty, purpose, patriotism, and each other. Today, together with those who are left behind, we are a family, bonded by the memories of what we did for the nation and each other, and bonded by our commitment to remember those who gave the last full measure of devotion. Much has happened in the last 20 years since Haqlaniyah, Huseba, and Ramadi. Remember, those who make history in the arena will always be bigger than those timid souls who write it and then rewrite it from the sidelines. A couple years ago, President George W. Bush spoke to each of you and said, "The cause you pursue at the call of duty is the noblest America has to offer. You have shielded your fellow citizens from danger. You have defended the beliefs of your country and advanced the rights of the downtrodden. You have been the face of hope and mercy in dark places. You have been a force for good in the world. Nothing that has followed, nothing can tarnish the honor or diminish your accomplishments. You and the honored dead, to you, our country is forever grateful." I know I'm grateful. I'm grateful for our nation, and I'm grateful for you, the Blue Devil family. God bless the Blue Devils. God bless America.
Great.